Greetings, hello, welcome. Hey everybody. Today is Tuesday, February 19th, 2019. And because of the ongoing issues here, I have some great news. The issue with LinusTechTips or Linus Media Group fraudulently claiming ownership of content they don't have and illegally filing claims against other tech YouTubers has finally been acknowledged by Linus as something that is in fact not automatic by YouTube, which he said it was. And it is in fact in his control, which he said it wasn't. So for all of the people who defended him, you all got played. I'm just glad I'm not one of those people. Anyway, this would not have been possible if not for the amazing audience that I have here, because I'll tell you what you guys did, those of you who helped me with this. By just simply filing a dispute, he would have remained completely in an ignorant bliss, and it would have continued to happen. It's not enough to simply stop the bully from yourself. Not in my world. In my world, you need to stop the bully from ever harming anybody again. You need to, and if the bully is a bully, in this case, he wasn't even aware he was being a bully. He wasn't even aware it was people working for him that were doing it, and didn't even look into it, right? Until after I suggested, hey, why don't you do this? And then he did it. So we'll see if he actually makes a video. All he did is tweet, which is kind of there's a weird way to go about it, like burying it. So let's see if he's man enough to come up on video, apologize to his audience for his misunderstanding. And, you know, a lot of his audience are very toxic people. And, you know, it wouldn't hurt him to suggest to his audience that they should not be going and attacking other channels on his behalf. It doesn't make him look good. It makes it look like people who watch LinusTechTips are all a bunch of people who can't think for themselves. But, you know, sort of a David and Goliath situation here. And you guys, without you guys, this would not have been possible. So we succeeded. All of us have finally. Doesn't it feel good? It feels good, right? Justice, or in this case, at least acknowledgement of accountability and responsibility. Now, that being said, I have not, those content match IDs have not been removed. So that's how much he cares, you know. I understand that, you know, the amount of money my YouTube channel makes is nothing to him, but it's everything to me. And those kind of things are far more damaging to me than if the opposite would happen to him. And there's a very serious lack of consideration, a very serious lack of empathy or compassion. And there's a lot of people who seem to think that I have to get their approval before I can react. I have to check in with people. Is it okay to react this way? Is this okay with you? Because when they write, you reacted wrong, it implies that I should have checked in with them first. Like I should have checked in and said, hey, can I react this way? Would it be all right with you? Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. Who are you? So that's a bizarre psychology, you know, that I'm dealing with, that people seem to think they get to choose after you've been victimized how to react as a victim, what's proper and what's not proper. Thank you for telling me. When you're a victim, we'll see how you like other people telling you how you should have reacted. But the bottom line is it was effective and it worked. And it wouldn't have worked again without your help. So you guys are amazing. I love you guys. Thank you so much. We finally got him. We finally got him to admit it. And now he's going to fix it. And the beautiful thing about that is, no, first of all, it's helping him, because every time his partner does that, he's violating the US law in a very vulgar way. That's not the way that the law is intended to be used. And that sort of abuse, I'm helping him. I am actually helping him from stopping that from occurring, because it makes him a potential legal target for damages. So you're welcome. And then secondly, it prevents other YouTubers from ever having to be victimized by that, right? Because now that he's acknowledged it, now that he says, okay, this wasn't YouTube automation, and this is something I have control over, he can fix it. But if you sit there and say, you know, that's just playing dumb, and, you know, look, we all make mistakes. It's really, I understand we all make mistakes. If you bump into me and knock me down, right, and you cause me some injury, you shouldn't expect me to then chase you down and ask for an apology. You should extend a hand and help me back up. You're the one who knocked me down. I was minding my own business. I had nothing to do with it, right? So I don't take kindly to being knocked down if you can't tell. And maybe he'll be more careful about knocking other people down in the future. It's in his own best interest. We're all in the same community here. It was completely unjustifiable, and it does put him in a very serious legal predicament. When you can't claim something is yours that isn't yours. You can't do it, and you can't blame automation. You absolutely cannot blame it, and especially when it's not true, right? When he says he doesn't have control over it, that's not true. When he says it's YouTube automated, it had nothing to do with YouTube. This was all on his partner, Fullscreen, and he did admit it. So, all right, let's move on. Let's move on. So thank you guys. You guys, like I said, if it was just me going up against him, he'd have never heard me, or one of his employees would have fixed it, but it would still continue to happen to other people, right? Now it's not gonna happen to anybody else anymore. That's what I do. It's not just about defending myself. It's about making sure not only is it not going to happen to me again from that person, but I'm gonna make sure, I'm gonna do the best I can to make sure it won't happen to anybody else. That is what community is all about. We look out for each other. We don't attack one another. That's not way a community, not my community, that's not how it works, right? And again, this is a person that was so big, and they don't have a proper education on how to run a company, right? They don't have like an MBA, for example, and at least I don't think he does. And so he's having to learn by the ropes. But there's nothing wrong with making mistakes. I make mistakes all the time, and it feels good. It doesn't hurt me none. It doesn't affect my income to go, you know what? I screwed up. You know what? Something happened from somebody that works for me, but ultimately the buck stops with me, and I apologize for any harm or emotional distress it caused or financial harm that it caused, and we're gonna make it right, and we're gonna make sure it's not gonna happen again. I'm not sure what would happen if he did that. Would he lose his channel, or would his money go down the toilet, or would people respect him more? Might be something for him to think about. And his followers who blindly follow him and believed what he told them and then attacked me as a result, might be something for them to think about too. So let's get back to where we were yesterday on the build. And I do want to let everybody know that this video will be edited down. Once it's all done and complete, all this LinusTechTips talk will be removed, and it'll strictly be the build, right? And that'll be a separate video a few weeks into the future. So for those people who don't want to get involved in this nonsense, you got nothing to worry about. It'll all be cleaned up later. So yesterday we built this 9700K computer, and we used my favorite cooler, CPU cooler, the Scythe Mugen 5. Which has unfortunately proven to not be adequate for cooling the machine. Now I could take this rear fan right here, take it off and put it back right here, because it really wouldn't make much difference. It's still a rear fan, right? It's still gonna blow air out that way. I just don't think that's gonna be enough, and I'd rather not have two fans, if I'm honest. Now there's some debate as to whether or not Be Quiet's Dark Rock 4 cooler, which I have right over here, will be adequate for cooling. And I've got to say, I don't think it's gonna be, but I could be wrong. It's actually smaller. The heatsink is smaller. That's my #1 concern. But it does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 heat pipes, and the Mugen, well, when we take it off, we can count how many heat pipes it has, but the physical radiator is smaller on the Dark Rock 4 from Be Quiet. However, one of the things you got to learn about the internet, even the people that you admire the most can provide false information, whether knowingly or unknowingly. So if somebody says, hey, that won't work, they might be right, but they also might be wrong. So how do you know for sure? Just try it. That's what I encourage you guys to do. Just try it. It's really simple. So we're going to pull this cooler off, and the Mugen, and we're going to put the Dark Rock 4 on it, and we're going to run the tests again. And this is exactly why I have not yet hooked up the DVD drive. This is why I have not yet put in the video card, because that's all stuff I would, that would get in my way, cables. The video card would have to come out because it would be in the way. And that's why you stop your build as soon as it's, you know, got the basics to power up, and you check your work. And if there's a problem, you fix it then before you move forward, and that's exactly what we're doing now. Now, I see a couple of contributions have come in, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge these generous folks. Let's see what we got. Russell Franzen has contributed $5. Alistair Collins has contributed £1. Jim Desposito says, have a Coke on me, and contributed $2. Thank you, Jim. I think I will. Ben Fitzpatrick has contributed $2. He says, hey, Carey, buy the dogs a cookie, my friend. The dogs literally just had a cookie before I started. That's why they're not hanging around. Kevin Andrews has contributed £2. He says, great. And I think that catches me up. Thank you, guys. Man, you guys rock. I'd like to see that we're back around 690 people watching, and that's great. We seem like we're back to our regular audience. If these trolls come back in, same as yesterday, you do the same thing. The good news is somebody in a couple of days will put thermal paste on wrong or something, and they'll all grab their torches and pitchforks and go, let's go over there. It's sort of like the dog in the movie Up, you know, he's talking about something and then suddenly, squirrel. So don't worry about it. Just a couple days, they'll be on to their next outrage. I hope they all learned a lesson from this. I hope all of those people that attacked me learned and are accepting that they got lied to, or at least misled and provided false information, whether intentionally or unintentionally. They got played. It wasn't me who did it. Feels good, though. Feels good. It's a good start. And again, wouldn't have happened without your help. All right. So, what I need to do first, I need to get the Mugen 5 cooler off of here, and that's going to require me to take the board back out, the motherboard. And while I've got the board out, there's this funky way that the I/O shield is not lining up with the ports, but the I/O shield is built onto the motherboard, so it's not like I lined it up incorrectly. So while we've got the board out, we're going to take a closer look at this and see if it's something we can address. Studio R wants a shout out. Let's give a couple other folks a shout out. After all, this wouldn't have been possible without many of you helping me. And thank you guys again. Thank you for the help. Sharon Idle and Zen Carter, Dusan Parkler, Michael Mancini, Steve Larkin, Z Hammer 223, Linda Hudson. Always good to see Linda in the chat. Hi, Linda. William Dawson, Mark Baggett. Mark was the first person in the chat today. At least the first person that said anything. Nick Poverman, Troll, Mick Trollington, Colin Hilton. Hey, Colin, always good to see Colin. Kelly Stewart, always good to see Kelly. Raymond Brisaius. Stephen Bernstein, always. Stephen's been a very generous contributor, as is Colin Hilton. And as many of you also, just because if I'm leaving somebody's name out, I'm not doing it on purpose. Please don't take it personally. In fact, you can even say, hey, what about me? That's fine. Gary Belts, Russell Franzen, Steve Larkin, Ben Fitzpatrick, Jay Toy, Richard Bogan, Alistair Collins, Jim Desposito, PM Crisp, Rudy Martin, Gary Kane, Stealth Mode, Steve M, Nelson Contreras, Eddie Casanova, IZ, John Wilson, another good friend of the channel, John Wilson, Gainsy95, Eddie Casanova, Jeremy Clayton, Steve Devine, did I say William Dawson? Edie Salt, Pete Unwin, Richard Barrow, Gil Garcia, Rudiger Luthi, Patrick Rusaw, Joseph Neal, John Peck, DRIC, Benekos, Artur Sanin, Darren Belmore, Boss Peter, A Life of Gaming with Del George, Platter Jockey. think I got you guys. Hey, thank you guys so much for joining me today. Steve says we have a lot of Steves in this community. I have a lot of friends named Steve too. Must be something about me. Richard Woods says hello. Hey, Richard. Troll McTrollington's contributed $2 He says, here's just to say hi. I donate over PayPal anyway. Dave Murray says hello, joining us from Scotland. Greg2711 says hello from Florida. And Dave Stetzel says, hi, Carey. Paul Ho, welcome. John Wilson says, hey, what about me? I think maybe you said that with the delay. Never, ever forget you, John Wilson. Never. All right. I just want to take a look here. Same rules apply as yesterday. Sharon, if somebody's been hidden, please do not unhide them. Please don't do that. If you feel somebody shouldn't have been hidden, you can certainly bring that to my attention. Let me decide that, please. All right, so let's get to business. Let's get to what we do here, right? So to get the board out, I'm going to have to disconnect our cabling, that thing that everybody's who's a first-time builder is often intimidated by, but you'll see here it's all going to happen pretty lickety-split. Boy, that USB 3 cable, that is on there good. Whew. Motherboard power. Let's get that over there. And that should be it. That's how easy that is. And then we just have to remove those few screws that are holding it in. So what I do to prevent the lazy Susan from spinning, in fact, one of the viewers recommended this. I just got a cheap doorstop off Amazon, and I just shove the doorstop under it, and then it doesn't, well, if I put it under there good, it won't spin on me, and that way I can still display it to you as I'm working on it. I think I'm going to take out this one first because it's harder to get to. Start with the hard one first, that's what I say. So the temps were climbing up on this way too high. I already tested previously with the other build, the Evo 212. That wasn't even, yeah, that ain't happening with an Evo 212. And should just be this last screw. Now when I take out the last screw, I'm gonna have to catch the motherboard because it may fall forward with the bigger and heavier the heatsink is, the harder it's gonna fall, right? So just be aware of that. And generally you want to lay the case flat. You wouldn't normally insert or remove a motherboard with the computer upright like this. I have to do it to show you. There's not much of a lesson in it if you can't see what I'm doing, right? Got the wrong video feed. There it is. Let me move that over here. There we go. All right, so when I take this last screw out, what I've got to do is sort of cradle and be ready to catch the board so it doesn't fall. And then I'm going to just grab it by the heatsink, pull it up, and then out, back and out, just like this. Now, we do have that power cable still attached, so I'm going to, that's that CPU power cable up here in the top corner. It was too hard for me to get out while it's installed, so I'm going to take that out now, and I'm just going to leave it there so I don't have to, oh, in the rear case fan. Anyway, so that'll be a lot easier to put back in. Now I can remove the doorstop, and we can pick the case up one-handed. Look at those muscles, look at those guns. Now let's take a look at this I/O shield. Let's see what's going on here. If you look right where the HDMI port is, it looks like there's another port above it, and I can't quite see it. And you can see the gaps. Look how big these gaps are. And you know, look at the PS2 port here and the USB. Look how the how the I/O shield's lined up from the factory. I'm not quite sure if we can adjust that at all. It does show there's 2 screws, but it does feel like it needs to come down. Oh, it does move. Ah, here we go. So if I push it down, now it's lined up better. So that was worth taking out just to fix that, and that's how easy that was. You know, and I have to admit, you know, this stuff is so easy. I'm not demonstrating any extreme intelligence here. And that's what I really want to emphasize. Anybody who wants to can do this. You got to believe in yourself, man. Believe in yourself. I believe in you. In fact, I got an email the other day. Gentleman says that he's losing his vision. He can't see very well. Certainly thought building a computer was not going to, it'd be like me saying I'm going to go play NBA. You know, it ain't happening. You just admit, you know, I'm not, that's not something I was built for. However, he did it anyway. He finally got up the guts and said, you know what, I can do this. And he did, and he wrote me an email. Did you like that? It's my Jimmy Fallon. He not only did it, but he wrote me an email from the machine with pride. Because of your videos, because you're so clear and thorough, I was able to follow along even with my visual impairity and build my machine, and I'm writing you this email on the machine now. Can you imagine how that makes me feel? It's better than any money. It is, I'll take that all day long. Ooh, it's good, feels good. So you can do it too. Whatever reasons you have for thinking you can't, I assure you, hey, if you need help, I'm sure there's somebody who can give you an assist here or there, but for the most part, you can do it if you want to. All right, looks like a couple contributions came in. Let me give a couple shout outs here real quick. What do we got? Benefits, oh, I already talked about that one. Christoph Ash, who watches us from Germany, he says, thanks for all the content. Hey, thank you. And Orly Doss has contributed $2. He says, still enjoying the content. Well, thank you, Orly. I appreciate that very much. Your support means the world to me. Sharon Idles contributed £1.50. Sharon, thank you. Thank you. All right. Now, let's get this cooler off. Best tool for that is the tool that it came with. Every time I go looking at the comments, I lose my feed. I have 2 different screens, one that you guys see and then the one that I see. So sometimes if I look like I'm thrown off a little bit, it's because I'm seeing a feed of myself from 90 seconds ago. It's disturbing. All right, so I'm gonna have to take the fan off. Now, one of the issues I have with the Be Quiet fan is the hangers don't have any tabs on them to pull. And as you can see, both the Evo 212 and the Mugen 5, they have these pull tabs. I don't know how well you can see that. All I have to do, it's very easy. I just pull the tab back and then away, and then the fan just comes right off. Do that on both sides. No issue at all. Something I think the people at Be Quiet should consider in a revision to address it. It's a pretty simple thing to address. I will just take these 2 screws off of the top of the cooler. Let's use the screwdriver. Not that it matters, but I really like this screwdriver, and any excuse I have to use it, I'm going to use it. Not too hard, huh? We have, I just threw away a perfectly clean paper towel. What a good time to just use that to wipe the thermal compound off of this so it doesn't get all over everything as I shift it around. I definitely will use this on another build because you know I love this cooler. It's just not appropriate for this CPU, apparently. And then of course I have to remove the compound off the CPU, and I'm just going to start with a paper towel, wipe that down. And then we'll clean it up with some denatured alcohol and a Q-tip here before we put the other cooler on. I still have the support brackets to remove. You want to time how long it takes me to, and I'm not even going to do it quickly. I'm just going to do it in my normal pace. But people are like, oh man, I got to take my cooler off. Look how fast this is. Watch. Let's keep this together. I don't want to confuse the parts. So those are the brackets, and then finally the back plate. Done. Anybody got the time on that? Again, not hurrying, not rushing. It's just normal pace. So you don't have to, because I know sometimes I feel that way. That's the only time I mention it. Sometimes I go, oh man, I got to pull the board back out. And you go, oh, you know what? The amount of time it took me to say, oh man, I got to take the board back out, I could have had the board out. Ray Burke says, let Carey ban them. No, you guys have my permission. Because there's a lot of toxic Linus trolls here, you certainly have my permission to ban them immediately. This week's going to be a little different since I'm the focus of their attention this week. 98% of them will be gone within a week. They'll move on and attack somebody else because they built their motherboard on an anti-static bag or something will outrage them. So don't worry about them just for now. Just I wouldn't even time them out. I would just ban them all together. Just so you know. All right, guys. And thank you guys, all my friends in blue. Thank you for keeping it civil. I don't know how they think they're proving any point. They're making their whole community look like, well, you can see what they're making themselves look like. They're apparently not self-aware, so if they can't voluntarily behave themselves, we'll do it for them. Really no big deal. Russell Franzen, you need to not unhide anybody, or I am going to remove your mod status if you do it again, okay? I know you think you're doing the right thing here. I don't want any mods unhiding anybody. If a mod hides somebody, they stay hidden. I'm the only one who will unhide today. So just so we're clear, I don't want you to time these people out. I want you to hide them, because every time you unhide them, you're just encouraging them. Thank you guys for staying on top of it, by the way. I'm going to need another Coke soon. People typing on keyboards, they're nothing to be worried about. Just cowards. Just a bunch of cowards. Everything's Call of Duty to them, everything is Battlefield. Everything is on the internet. Everything is virtual reality. They seem to have a problem seeing the difference between a game and real life. And so since you can't communicate with them in a reasonable way, all you can do is ban them. There's nothing they're ever going to say that's worth hearing. So just ban them. Let's take a look here. I'm going to find out who's doing unhiding, and I'm going to start removing moderator status right now. So Sharon, I'm about to remove your moderator status right now, Sharon. You and I are good, Sharon. Don't unhide anybody else. Please, I'm asking you. If you won't listen, and I'm assuming you did it on purpose, Sharon. I shouldn't. I hope you didn't do it on purpose. Please do not unhide Anybody. I'm counting on you guys for your help. Please help me. Howard Mobley was unhidden by Sharon Idle. Not acceptable. Not acceptable. It needs to stay hidden. Okay, so you did it by mistake. No problem, Sharon. We're good. Yeah, it did show you did that. So please, let's not undo each other's work in our haste. If two people try to hide the person at the same time, you need to make sure that the button says hide and not unhide if you're too quick on it. All right, guys? And I wouldn't put anybody in timeout. Just completely remove them from the channel. FlyTech Bass has contributed $2. He says, I'll pay for the next Coke. Right on, FlyTech Bass. Let me go to the vending machine. Let's grab another one. All right. And while I'm over here, I can grab my Q-tip and my denatured alcohol. We're going to clean the top of the CPU off. So with this Howard Mobley guy, if you right-click and hit report, and then choose harassment or bullying, and then say this is harassing me and hit report, if about 20 of you do that, YouTube will automatically shut his account down. Gotta love automation. So just feel free, if he doesn't seem like he's being removed, just hit the report. If enough of all the mods do that, his account will be banned by YouTube. So you guys know. And again, thank you guys for your help. I really appreciate it. Yeah, I realize he's got a number of different accounts. He's coming in and it's, you know, using the same name, but you can do that all the same. It's really not a big deal. It's pretty easy to shut him down. And anyway, no big deal. And again, I appreciate you guys handling it. The more he participates, the more money I make, right? The more he comes in, it's another view count for me and I make money from it. So if he's punishing me by giving me money, you know, please punish me some more. I'll take it to the bank. I got no problem with that. That's a weird way to punish people, to go, let me give your video more views so you can accrue more money. Not sure he's thinking that all the way through. I guarantee you, because he's doing that, he's artificially inflating my view count. So, okay. The funny thing is all the effort he has to go to keep switching accounts, and it's just a click for you to ban him. I think that's hilarious. If they think that's worth all their effort for you guys to just go click, you just undid all their effort with one click. I think it's hilarious. And then on top of that, I get paid, so. Let the games continue. It's just another game. That's why I say it's a game mentality. They can't differentiate reality from a video game. It's a form of a disassociation with reality. And it's very easy, you know, when you're sitting in a little room with your computer keyboard, it's easy to not really understand the reality or the consequences. So karma does tend to take care of itself, as you've witnessed already, and you'll see it. If you watch for it, you'll see it over and over in your life if you watch for it. Karma just, I don't know, just has a way. People know what they do is wrong. Karma's not always instant, you know. If you're lucky, it is. But it does accrue interest, and when it hits pretty hard. And you may not be there to see it personally, you know, happen to somebody that wronged you, but rest assured, they'll get what's coming. You don't have to do anything. It just happens on its own. Nature just has a way of balancing things out. And, you know, it's life. So what they do is create their karma, and how you choose to react to it is yours, you know. All right. Got the CPU cleaned off. Let's get the bottom of the Dark Rock cooler cleaned up. And let's see here. It's actually cleaned up really good with a paper towel. It's a nice finished surface here. Not much on it at all. I mean, that's what's left from just using a paper towel. That's pretty good. And you'll see this rubbing, this denatured alcohol, or rubbing alcohol if that's what you're using, it just evaporates on its own. You don't have to dry it off. And because it evaporates on its own, you don't want to leave the lid off the bottle for too long, or you might come back, depending on how full the bottle is, and find it less full. Dave says he hit the wrong button. Dave, you can fix your own mistakes, man. You can go in and undo anything you've done by mistake, just so you know. All right, so putting the cooler on, I got to remember how I did that from before. Let's get this out of here. And just to avoid any confusion with regards to the parts for the Mugen and the parts for the Dark Rock, let me get the Mugen parts out of my way. Should I put them in here? I wish I had a separate bag. I'll tell you what, I'll take care of that a bit later. I don't have to handle it right now. I'll just make sure I keep it all together for later. This is the Be Quiet fan. This has to go over here. See what I just did? This is the Mugen fan and the back plate. And we'll put that over here. And then these are the brackets and the screws. And we'll keep all that together so I don't confuse myself any more than I already am. There we go. How you guys doing in there? How you holding up? How's my army holding up against the toxic Linus trolls? Badge holders contributed 50 Norwegian krona and says, "Here's a punishment for you, sir." You're awesome. Thank you, badge holder. That's hilarious. Rich Robbins says he's enjoying playing Whack-A-Troll. Who knew when you came into my channel you could have so much fun? You know, it's gotta be enjoyable, right? It's gotta feel good. I love it. I love it. You guys are awesome. All right. So with regards to putting the Dark Rock 4 on, where I got my Dark Rock 4 instructions, and I got the fan. Now where's the mounting hardware? What did I do with it? I think I left it in my office. Thought I was prepared. Apparently not. Let's see. That's kind of weird. I think I confused. This is the bag. This is the bag for the Mugen 5, and I mean for the Dark Rock 4, in the bag of parts, because I do this with all my builds. This I thought was for the Mugen, but this bag for the Mugen's in the motherboard box. That's why I just did that. So these are the parts that I was looking for. John Tuvey has contributed £5. Thank you so much. Jonathan says it's not fair that other people get to him first. You gotta be faster, Jonathan. Should we make a patent for the term whack-a-troll? That's a good idea. Paul says he's coming back later. We'll see you in a little bit. Paul, thanks for joining us today. I see Tony Wallows joined us. Hey, Tony, always good to see you, my friend. All right, so there's, see again, you see these wire hangers with no pull tabs? I want to emphasize how thoughtless that is on behalf of the engineer or the department manager who approved it. Okay, so this separate bag, these are the parts that I used before. This bag is for AMD, I don't need it. These screws are for socket 2011, which we're not using. And then the extra wire hangers, of course, are for adding an additional fan, which, look, we could also have added an additional fan, as I mentioned, on the Mugen 5. I don't like that solution at all, so we won't be using that. All right. That's a good thing about gamers. They get bored really easily, so after you discourage them for a while, it doesn't take very long. They're not like adults, you know? They don't have any, they're just easily bored. So they'll give up very quickly. I mean, they might think they're lasting a long time, but they're not. They might be like, look at me and look at my persistence, because they lasted 5 minutes. And for a gamer, 5 minutes can be like 5 years. So yeah, they'll get discouraged and go away rather quickly because they have that gamer mentality. And by the way, I'm not against gamers. I'm just against gamers who behave that way. So when I say gamers, I'm referencing gamers that exhibit a certain behavior that is a part of that community, not the entire community. And I apologize if you're a gamer and I've somehow, you know, if I have, by not making myself clear, suggested that you're one of those people. I'm implying that there are people like that in the gaming community, and they're very easily dissuaded because they give up so easy. Anyway, so these are the parts I'm going to use here. Maybe I'm going to get really good at installing this Dark Rock 4. We're going to go for install number 2 now, and I know I really struggled with that first one, you know. So let's hope I can do this in a more efficient manner than I did the first time. But you know, the first time you do anything, you shouldn't expect to be good at it, because why would you want to do it again if you mastered it the first time, right? I mean, if you just sat down and played a game and went all the way to the end in one sitting, you'd probably be disappointed and probably won't be wanting to play that game anytime again soon. So it's all good. It's okay. So these are the brackets we're going to use, and these are our standoffs. These are our wire hangers, which are going to go with the fan, which is over here. I'll keep those two things together. And remember how I said that thermal compound, how it gets all over everything, and that's why I'm cleaning it up? And this stuff is really hard to remove. Let me just grab something, because what's going to happen is now everything I touch, it's going to rub off on, and I don't want to deliver a computer with little smudges of thermal compound over everything I touch, because it's not cool. John Wilson says, I don't think it's going to be any better as they both have 6 heat tubes. Oh, that's right, I was going to look at the number of heat tubes. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the Mugen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're right, on the Dark Rock 4. And the radiator on the Dark Rock 4 is smaller. But the fan is different, and maybe the fan could make all the difference in the world. And that's also entirely possible, that I could have gone with perhaps another manufacturer's fan on the Mugen 5 just to see. But I don't think it'll make a 10-degree I mean, it would have to come down by 10 or 15 degrees Celsius for that, and I don't think a fan's going to do that. So I'm leaning to the fact that that's not going to be adequate, but Catherine said it would be, and other people say it isn't, so how do I know who to believe? So it's very easy to just try it and see for yourself, and that's what I recommend all of you do. Richard Angeline has contributed $5. He says, I got my case badge on my new PC. Rock on, Richard, that's awesome. Do the fans run at a different RPM? Well, yeah, they will, and also the motherboard's going to control that. Charles thinks I'm going to need liquid cooling. Well, we're in trouble if we do, because this case really does not accommodate liquid cooling, and the judge doesn't want liquid cooling either. So let's hope we don't have to. Several people have said the Noctua 14s and 15s are working well for them on their 9700Ks, but you know, are they running the same test I'm running? And you know, is what they're saying truthful? I assume it is, but until I verify it, I take it with a little grain of salt, right? I say thank you for the information, and I'll consider it as I move forward. And I suggest all of you do that. The life is so much easier when things are verifiable. It's so easy to verify, by the way, as you're about to watch. So let's get the back plate on. And this back plate doesn't seem to have any particular care of which way it goes on. It's going to line up, these two holes are going to line up with the back of the CPU socket, as would if I flipped it the other way. So we're good there. And then while that's there, I can put the standoffs on it. Now, I do have a couple of Liquid Maker 92s, which are these little isolated all-in-one liquid coolers. Very unique. I've shown them off before. I don't really think they cool that well. It might be worth trying just to see. Look at me, I'm already assuming. I'm already thinking of what I'm going to do after this fails. I really don't expect this to work well, but it'll be, I'll know for sure, you know. I won't have to speculate. I think I'm going to use that Mugen 5 screwdriver to torque down these standoffs. Perfect. Perfecto. Let me take a quick look. Is this going to go on this way? No, it's got to go on. I'm going to put this on this way. Stay. Yep. There we go. Yeah, you got to be real careful with your screwdriver. It's very easy to cut a trace or damage the board, so be very careful. And I would recommend, and I've said it a number of times, if you're a first-time builder, you should be using a manual screwdriver, not an automated one or electric one, as it's very easy to cross-thread screws if you're not familiar. And it can be an expensive lesson to learn, I can tell you that. I've certainly ripped a couple of heads off of screws on video before, and it's happened on a couple liquid coolers that I foolishly, well, let's say impatiently used an electric driver when I should have been using feeling. You know, that again, on the internet and in virtual reality, there's no feeling. It's numb. It's like a painkiller, you know. I guess people like painkillers because it removes any sense of feeling. any sense of pain and most sense of feeling goes away. And I think that's what attracts a lot of people to going online and living in this virtual world, is it's numb. It lacks any real feeling or consequence of action. And it's just an interesting psychological observation I've noticed. It may be very similar that the addiction to painkillers is similar to the addiction of being online for the same reason of the numbness that it brings. It's not possible to hurt me. In other words, anybody watching who wants to stab me or shoot me, they would have to do that in person. You can't physically hurt me typing or calling me or swatting. You can't. It does. That's the difference between reality and the virtual world. It's weird you'd have to explain that, but I don't know what else to explain. I don't know how else to explain that bizarre behavior. It's the only thing that makes any sense to me. All right, let's see. So that's going to go on like that, and then we're going to put that on like that. Are we going to have room for our RAM? That's the question. It's going to be close. Just want to verify. So if I put the cooler on this direction, I'm just trying to see, like with the Mugen, it sticks out a little bit more on one side than the other to give the fan a little extra room. And so what I'm doing is just turning around, seeing if it looks any different, if I get any more clearance. It looks to be exactly the same one way or the other. And so if I want the words "be quiet" to be visible, without being upside down, to be right side up, that's the way it would go on. That's the orientation. The fan will go on this side. It's going to pull air in through here, push it through the radiator, and then out through the back of the case. So we're good to apply our thermal compound. I think, I was thinking, since I have a lot of this Scythe thermal compound, I would use it. But maybe the thermal compound, and again, when you use a thermal compound, it really doesn't impact your cooling much one way or the other. But just for the sake of it, no, you know what, I'm not. I was going to say I was going to grab another brand of thermal compound, but the more I think about it, it doesn't make any sense. And also, it wouldn't be an accurate test. So because the CPU has been cleaned, let me just apply some of this thermal compound. And again, Scythe has given us, it looks like, I might have just put a little too much on. So I've already used this tube once. Now I'm using it a second time. And now I'm going to spread that thermal compound around and make it nice and evenly painted across the top of the CPU surface, the internal heat spreader, as they call it. And sometimes I say rubber glove. I really mean a nitrile glove. It's just old school. It's like when someone says, "I'm going to grab the tin foil." Foil has not been made out of tin in my lifetime. It's aluminum foil, or simply foil. And that's the nerd in me. Well, you got your tinfoil hat on? Well, actually, it's aluminum foil. Yeah, that guy. Okay, who's next? Boom. I think I might be watching too much of that Russian crazy hacker. I think that's where I'm getting the boom from. Maybe he'll send me a IP conflict, intellectual property conflict takedown notice. Nah, he's way cooler than that. What was I doing? We're gonna go this way. Set that on there. What's great about this design is you don't have to worry about evenly tightening down the screws. But I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm consistent. Perfect. Perfect. And I'm just going to double check, make sure that's nice and tight. Catherine said, she said, Carey, if you tighten it down good, if you tighten it down good, from her research and her conclusion, this should work. And I hope she's right. And if she isn't, I have no disrespect for her at all. She, according to the math and the research, I hope she's right. I hope she's right. But if she isn't, that's okay too. You know, the worst thing you can do to somebody who's trying to help you is then punish them. And then they're like, you know what, I'm just never going to help you again. And I certainly don't ever want to lose Catherine's help, because she's amazing. But she's not a robot. Ooh, we might even have room now. So already I don't like this, because we will not be able to use this first RAM socket. And that's not exactly low profile RAM. I want to go that way. Yeah, you know what? We'll just leave it. I'll fix it later. I don't normally like the cable running like that. Ah, you know what? Let's just do it right. Let's just do it right. I have a feeling this is not going to work. I think we're going to be right back to square one. Who's going to be right? Place your bets, everybody. Let me know what you think in the chat. You think this is going to cool better, worse, and will it cool enough? Will I be able to run Prime 95 on it for 15 minutes and not exceed 85 degrees centigrade? That is what we're about to find out. Ooh. By the way, sorry, give me just a minute. I'm trying to focus. Oh, this has got a, so I'm right on that last ridge. I need to lift the fan up. I was focused on making sure the fan was level with the top. And of course, the bad part about that is it's even deeper now over that that RAM socket. So I got to do the opposite. And I got to struggle with this darn wire hanger, because it doesn't have the pull tab, to try and get it off, which is way more difficult than it needs to be. I want to say, just because it occurs to me now, there's been a couple of videos made. There's a kind of YouTube channel, UFD. Oh my God, it's hilarious. It's hilarious. I love it. Those guys, as far as I'm concerned, UFD is great. Love them. Unfortunately, they believed what Linus said. And so based on the false information they had, I completely understand where they were coming from. And then also, Eli seemed to have a very objective viewpoint. You know, Eli wasn't saying, hey, I'm on Carey's side. He didn't say that at all. And I appreciate that. I appreciate honesty. I really do. And if you guys haven't seen those videos from UFD Tech and Eli, the computer guy, I strongly encourage you to watch them. Absolutely. I think it's interesting. And I'm glad that we're having this discussion about copyright issue and the way that it's being maintained. I'm glad that this is raising awareness about the problem, especially to the people who are profiting from it. Maybe I'll just try and get the other side off here first. You know, the least Dark Rock could do is maybe give you a little tool, maybe some kind of a little hooking tool or something, if they can't, for some intellectual property reason, if they can't use the hanger design with a pull tab, maybe they could just come up with a little tool. To assume that you're going to put this on once and never ever take it off is not really thinking ahead, is it? It's more optimistic than me, I'll tell you that. Come on. Come on. Trying not to damage the fins on the radiator. It's a real challenge in this design. Here we go. Now, how high up can I put this? Looks like the highest point it'll go is right there. That's on there now. Why is it so much higher on this side? Let's make sure we get it level. Yep. Right there is as high as I can put it. I'd love to know what motherboard that fits on, where it doesn't intersect and overlap a RAM socket, because it certainly doesn't seem to be designed for a Z390 chipset, and that's part of the issue. Right, now we can plug the power cable back on for the CPU fan, which is going to go right here. It'd probably be easier if I plugged it into the right place, right? This connector up here is where I plugged the rear case fan prior to that. And I'm not gonna zip tie this because I got a feeling it's coming back out. Well, the fact that I'm not zip tying it tells you it's coming back out either way. And let's put this up over here. There's really not enough thermal compound left in here, and I don't have multiples of these. So that's going into the trash can. There's not enough left for another full coverage. Franklin says, am I using the dark rock that he bought? Yes, Franklin, I am. That's exactly what I'm doing. Carey, Adam Reynolds wants to know, I'm thinking about getting a solid state drive. What do you think about the Western Digital Green M.2 SATA drives? I've got a video all about that, comparing different SATA drives, and you should certainly check that out. But overall, as far as any performance goes, almost all of the SATA M2 drives are all the same. So it's really up to price and warranty, as far as I'm concerned. And when I say they're all the same, I'm referring to the big name brands. So Western Digital, Samsung, SanDisk, AData, Crucial, any of the big brand names, pretty much all have the same warranty. They're all within about the same price range for the same capacity and run at the same speeds. So I don't really think you can make a bad decision there. Carey, have you ever been to Winnetaka? I don't know what that is. Illinois. I'm currently a Chicago police officer. Do you think I should become a firefighter? I don't know what you should do, man. It's up to you. Do it. Follow your passion. Follow your passion, whatever that is. Paul from Mars has contributed $10. He says, I hope the Vegas trip was uneventful and all is well. Well, first of all, thank you for your contribution and thank you for your thoughts. There was a medical emergency in the family. I went out to Las Vegas to do what I could do to show my support and offer what help I could offer in that situation, and it was totally worth it. So worth it. First and foremost, we all get so busy. I haven't seen my father in a long time. He travels a lot, and when he does, the last few times I've seen him, he's come to me. It was well overdue for my turn to go visit him. And I just had, these excuses. I'm busy, I got work to do, all this stuff's going on, and this is not a good time for me to leave. But then a medical emergency happens, and suddenly you realize you have more time, you can make the time. If it's important to you, you can make it. And I'm so glad I went, and thank you so much for asking. Mike Zawinski has contributed $2. He says, it looks like you need a Coke. I've got one right back here, Mike. Thank you, though. All right, now I want to make sure we get that I/O shield not adjusted too much when I'm putting the motherboard in, make sure that I'm not the one, inadvertently pushing down on it. And at least I know now it's pretty easy to fix and to address. And what I want to do first is I want to put that 8-pin CPU power connector on, or that EPS power connector, right now before it gets difficult, before I install the board. In fact, I'll just lay the board down. Just lay it down in here, anywhere, it's fine. And that's going to give me a lot easier access onto that EPS power connector. Yeah, sometimes, going back to my trip, sometimes you don't realize how much you miss somebody, or how much you, or how glad you are to be around them when you're not thinking about them and you're so busy and sort of encapsulated in your own world. And then you go out and you visit them and you're like, oh, why didn't I do this sooner? Why did I wait for a medical emergency to happen? But on the plus side, it appears that the medical emergency, well, it's still an ongoing issue, isn't as serious as we thought it was. We don't believe it to be. And it was a good excuse, you know, great excuse to go see my dad. He's the only parent I have left. Same is true with my wife. It's sort of a downside of getting older, you know? Start seeing people you care about around you reach the end of the line, and we were very concerned that that was happening, or that could have been happening with my father. But he's as stubborn as he ever was, and I think I should call him today and follow up, but I think he's already going to be feeling better. No, that's apparently not lined up. Come on, baby. Just take a look at what's happening here. I think I'm going to just loosen that other one I just put in. There it is. Interesting, clicked. It just clicked. I mean that both literally and figuratively. Excuse me for a minute, guys. Hi. Shut up. Shut up. What is it? It's a...
extra cheese.
All right.
Oh, you didn't order it?
I didn't order it.
Oh. She ordered you an extra cheese pizza.
Well.
The new pizza.
Well, thank you very much. I'll give you a few bucks. Here.
Oh, true. Oh, was that? Let me see.
Does it say who ordered it?
Somebody ordered it online, but it's cash, though.
That's weird.
Yeah, it's cash.
Well, whatever it is, there's a tip for you.
Well, it's cash.
Oh, they're saying I have to pay for it? What does that mean?
I don't know what happened. Well, what does it mean?
Does it mean there's a total due, or does it mean it's paid for?
Oh, it's not paid for.
Oh, it's not paid for.
Yeah,
I didn't order it. I thought somebody paid for it.
Carey Holzman?
That's who I am, but I didn't order it. No, let me tell you something.
Okay.
I'm a YouTube. See the microphone? I'm on YouTube right now, so apparently one of my viewers thought it'd be funny to order a pizza. That's what's just happened. I apologize. I'm going to give you the tip anyway.
Oh, thank you.
All right? It's not your fault.
They could do that from YouTube?
Well, you tell me. You're here.
I've never heard of that before.
Well, welcome to the internet, my friend. I apologize, but maybe you guys can enjoy that.
Well, it's going to my boss.
Make your boss aware if any orders come from this address. especially in the afternoons.
Oh, to note the account.
Yeah, note my account, please,
Okay.
that they
I'll
need
let
to
them
call me and confirm any future orders.
Okay, I'll let them know.
Very good. Thank you, my friend. Watch out, boys. Oh, man, I thought somebody paid for a pizza for me. Rats. I was getting a little hungry, too. Ah, that pizza smelled good, though. I feel like I need some pizza right now. I gave the guy a tip. You know, it's not his fault. All right. Let's see here. Let's plug... Oh, wait, I wasn't done putting my screws back in. Let's do that next. There's that one, there's that one. Oh yeah, there's this one right up here. There we go. There we go. All right, now, yeah, I'm gonna plug this back in because I want to use that USB port. There we go. I've never seen a pizza delivery place show up and collect cash before. Usually they need a credit card over the phone to avoid this very thing. That's, I think somebody at the pizza place made a mistake. But, so be it. It's not costing me anything. All right, hard drive LED. And the reset switch. Is that on? Perfect. Power switch. And power LED. There we go. You know what would be great is to see one of these guys actually have the guts, you know, these trolls, to actually show up in person to my front door. Because I'm not hiding, I'm a very easy guy to find. And it'd be very interesting to see how that plays out. That's all I'm saying. Cowards. They think they're so smart. I was talking to my one of my nephews, and he's very young, and he mentioned something like this. So that's the mentality, you know? Not to insult my nephew at all, but it's just like, really? It's that gamer mentality, man, you know? It's that gamer attitude that you think you're cleverer than you really are. And so that makes you laugh, man. It's all good. But it's not exactly something a mature adult does. That's the behavior of a young child, of an adolescent. And you know, that's what adolescence is. Some people never mature out of it. Most of us do. Those of us who grow on to be successful. What is that? Maybe I don't have that on right. flashlight batteries are dying. There it is. Okay. So we got power, CPU power, USB cable, front port umbilicals. Let's get this rear fan back on just to keep the airflow moving, give it the best possible chances of success. Can I do this without the forceps? Because this cooler's not as wide. Where is the connector? There it is. Line up for me. There it goes. Oh, oh. I might be getting those forceps after all. Let me grab them. All right. There we are. All right. Let me get the power cable ready. Oh, my ports are all lined up pretty good now. Much, much better. It does still feel like this shifted. Oh, look at that. Now it's dead on. It's a shame I'm gonna have to take it back out. Oh, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. So let's get you guys' monitors plugged into that. And let's see, switch is in the off position. Power. And keyboard and mouse. Okay, proof is in the pudding. Proof is in the pizza. Let's see what happens. Tom Ross says, watching in my main shed. Wife will be bringing me a curry soon. It's 10:15 in the evening here in the UK. I wish I had a shed, a man shed, a she shed, a man shed. I would like a neutral gender shed. Put the switch to on. We're going to switch over now to the capture device. Hit the power button and let her rock. Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It is on and we're booting. Place your bets, ladies and gentlemen. Place your bets. Here we go. We're about ready to find out if the Dark Rock 4 from Be Quiet will perform any better than Scythe's Mugen 5 and the Hyper 212 Evo from Cooler Master, which wasn't really in the race at all. Here we go. Let me make my screen bigger so I can see what I'm doing. And let's do hardware monitor and bring up our temperature sensors. Thank you. All right, we're running pretty good. We're already hit some peaks, which is a little disturbing. We haven't even done anything yet. And don't let me forget, I want to check the power draw from the kilowatt power meter to see how much power we're drawing when we hit those high temps. So here we go. So the area I'm going to be watching is right here on the right side. This is our maximum temps. Over here where it says value, this is our current temp. Right now, the time for me is 3:17 in the afternoon, and if we let this run for 15 minutes, we'll be at 3:32. So let's see if we can make it without exceeding 85 degrees centigrade here on the right side. What do you think is going to happen? Let me know. And where are you watching me from? Tell me where you're watching me from, if you don't mind. Dr. Carey is the master of the forceps, says Patrick Manny. You know, this is only the 4th or 5th time I've used them, but I don't know, was it you that sent them to me? Whoever sent them to me, I was like, I'm never going to use these. I've never needed them in my career. Why would I need them now? Just goes to show you. Sometimes it's a little easier to do it another way. So thank you for that. Let's see, Casper, Wyoming, the UK. William says he's in Cocoa, Florida. Somebody there from Greece and Kentucky, Indiana, Bulgaria, Scotland, France, Netherlands, UK, North Carolina, Scotland, Mexico, Denmark, Georgia, Maryland, Virginia, Puerto Rico. Another Virginia. Stuart says hello from Scotland, Winchester, Kentucky, Dalton, Georgia, Altoona, Pennsylvania, Laverne, California, Syracuse, New York, Indiana, Gadsden, Alabama, Belgium, the Netherlands, and a town called Leiden. Very cool. San Francisco, California. Rich Robbins, of course, watches us from Mesa, Arizona. Of course, if he wanted to, he could watch from my kitchen, and he has before. West Yorkshire in the UK, it's John Craig. And Gary McGraw says Fort Worth, Texas. We also have Jimmy Bateman in Burlington, North Carolina. Maroof watches us in Irving, Texas. PDG is in the UK. Dan the Plumber is in Illinois. It's not Illinois. There is no noise in Illinois. Corrupt All Day is from Las Vegas. Well, that's not surprising. I've been to Las Vegas, and it's pretty corrupt all day. Lebanon, Germany, Woodbridge, Virginia, Denmark, in Dallas. Noman Jones is watching us from Michigan, a fellow Michigander right there. Hellsport Cheatham is watching us from Oldham's, UK. Ron Coker from Bloomington, Illinois. John Narcisse, I'm not sure how to say that. Narciso. So Joe's watching us from Montreal. Barry Almond is in the UK, and Colin Hilton is in the UK. Jeremy Clayton says he's in Arkansas. Billy Zoo watches us in Australia. Kevin Perry is in Yarmouth, Massachusetts. That's a mouthful. How'd you like to have to write that on every letter you wrote? Yarmouth, Massachusetts. You got to be good at spelling at a young age if you live there. Andy says he's a Scotsman in England. Jess is watching us in Hellenden, Cornwall in the UK. And Pete Unwin is watching us in Worcester, as they say in Boston, or Worcestershire in the UK. I'm not sure how you guys pronounce it, though. And we've got a viewer in Slovenia, Florence, Colorado, South Carolina. Yes, mods, please do not hide anybody. Oh, my buddy Robert is here. Robert, we're going to make you a moderator. See, even Robert and I, you know, he was trying to tell me it was YouTube's automated system, and he was going to be adamant about it, and he wouldn't listen to me. But he's a friend, you know, and I'm not going to disrupt a friendship over a disagreement. But, you know, now that the truth is out, we all know, you know, that what really happened, and Robert was as guilty as everybody else making assumptions. But he meant well. But it's It's a little painful in real life when a friend you know and have known for years won't support you because they think you don't understand. Kind of hurts a little bit, but I try not to take it personally, and he's a good friend, and I don't want to change that. Sean Baxter is saying hello. Matt Power says he's watching from Farmington, Maine. Check my watt meter. Thank you. I forgot. How much power are we drawing? Anybody want to guess? Anybody want to guess how much power we're drawing right now? Robert says it's automated, but they control the aggressiveness of it. Well, the problem is when we define they is not YouTube. And again, this has all been admitted now, finally. It was not automated, and it was not from YouTube. Mikey thinks it's 320 watts. Jorgen Forsberg says 200 watts. Jorgen is correct. It's running at about 205. Oh, no, 280. Just jumped to 280. So you're both right. You were both right. It's been bouncing between 200 and 300 watts. How are we doing on our cooling, by the way? We're getting close, aren't we? We are getting up there. Where are we at? No, I'm sorry. It's 97 degrees Celsius, so guess what? We're stopping this test. That ain't happening. Hit stop. Let's stop the test. Woo-wee! 97 degrees centigrade. Well, you've heard of burning in a computer before, right? Guess we're taking that literally on this build. Fact of reality says, stop, you're about to fry it. It won't fry, there's no worry. I can take this cooler off and run the system without the cooler on it at all. It will not damage it. What it'll do is it'll hit a throttling point, and the CPU will start shutting down cores in order to protect itself, and if it's still not enough, it'll actually shut the system down. This isn't the 1990s anymore. So you don't have to worry about that. This whole fascination and obsession about cooling is completely overblown. CPUs, modern CPUs have self-protection built in. They will not burn up, at least not the Intel ones, I can tell you that much. And I've got a video where I actually run a CPU without a heatsink and I run Prime 95 on it. And all it does is it hits 100 degrees centigrade and then it starts slowing down. But during the whole test, it never shut off. And it doesn't matter what Intel CPU it is, if it's an i3, i5, i7. They all run the same, and it's a wonderful thing because I have seen CPUs burn up back in the 80s, the 90s, in the early 2000s, but that's pretty difficult to do these days unless you get in and you forcibly overclock it and you force it to run too hot, in which case that's on you. But if you leave it alone and let the system maintain itself, the engineers have already thought of that. Kevin says, I've used the Izuna, which is from Scythe, on an Intel i5 9600K, and it never went over 77 degrees on Prime 95 after 20 minutes. That processor runs that much hotter? Yeah, well, apparently. Now, I do have an Izuna cooler here, brand new in the box, that Scythe is patiently waiting for me to review, but I don't think it's going to do the job. So let me switch back over. So that's where we're at. So the problem here is, the customer will probably never push the CPU that hard for that long. It's highly unlikely that would ever occur in reality. And I talked about this yesterday. I could send this computer like this, and the customer may own it for years and years and years and never have a complaint. And by the way, when it does, and if it does, hit 100 degrees centigrade and start to throttle down, the customers never notice. I had a customer call me for a solid state drive upgrade. They were running out of hard drive space, and they said, can you come over to the office and upgrade our solid state drive? And I said, sure, no problem. They had a 120 gigabyte drive. And at this time, this was a couple years ago, the 240s were like $100. So we got the 240. I used Acronis and I cloned it. But when I opened the computer up, when I pulled the side panel off, the CPU fan was disconnected, or it was only on 2 of the 3 pins. It wasn't spinning. I can't remember, but the CPU fan wasn't hooked up regardless, properly. And I asked them, I said, have you been having any problems with this computer at all? And they said, well, yeah, we're running out of space. I'm like, yeah, besides that. And they said, no, it's the best computer we've ever had. And I said, well, I think you'll find it's going to be a bit better. They had no idea their fan was disconnected. I have no idea how long it was running that way. So this obsession about cooling is way, way, way overheated. Yeah, I tried. I tried to make it funny. Joe Shipley says you might want a Noctua 15 or an all-in-one. Well, this case is not going to fit an all-in-one in here. We don't have enough space up here to fit an all-in-one. Unfortunately, the top of the case is too close to the top of the motherboard. So the only all-in-one I could use is that Liquid Maker 92 from Cooler Master. I don't think it's going to work very well. I do have one of those. Let's take a quick look. Where is it? Ah, right in front of my face, right here. Look at me, how organized I am. I know exactly what's in every pile. So, this, if you've never seen it before, this is a really cool, did I just say cool? Cooler. This is an all-in-one liquid cooler, all by itself. You don't, the radiator is right inside, and you can flip it, see? So if you want it to go that way, like if you have a space constraint with your case, you can flip it that way. And it might be easier for you to see the radiator in there, and see the pipes are very short. And it's designed for cases like this where you go, hey, no all-in-one cooler will fit. Don't say never, or don't make such absolute statements, because in fact this will fit just fine. But will it work any better than the Be Quiet? I don't think it's going to. I don't know, should I try it? I don't know. This is an old cooler. It's a design from about 2 years ago. So it's certainly, the engineers, when they designed it, did not design it for a 9700K. I can promise you that much. Although I'm not quite sure what cooler was designed for a 9700K. I've heard a lot of people saying, you know, that Noctua D14 and D15 will be adequate. However, there is practically half the size of the motherboard. And I just hate the idea of shipping something that heavy on top of the board that, you know, if it breaks off, man, that's going to be devastating if it breaks off in shipping. It's going to destroy all the components inside. Mark Nelson says, thank you for the Acronis discount, Carey. Hey, don't thank me. That comes from Acronis. For those of you who don't know what he's referring to, the folks at Acronis saw my video where I said, wouldn't it be nice if the people at Acronis would offer my viewers a discount on their software? And Acronis said, I guess Acronis saw the video, which is flattering in and of itself, and they said, here's a discount code for your viewers. And initially the discount code was for the subscription model only, but then I started getting all these emails from people saying that the discount code didn't work because they weren't buying the proper version of Acronis. Some people I responded to got it, other people I responded to still didn't understand. They thought any version of Acronis was a subscription. That's simply not the case. So I went back to them and I go, look, man, this is too confusing for the viewers. We either need to pull the discount code because I'm not making any money. I'm not making an affiliate. I don't have any affiliate account with Acronis. They're not a sponsor. There's no money changing hands. Acronis has never cut me a check. Never. The most they've done is given me a free subscription for 12 months to their current product. And I hope they continue to do it, by the way. I'm not expecting anything and I'm not asking anything from them. But I don't want you guys to be under the impression that I'm profiting from it. So now, because I'm not profiting from it, now it's costing me money having to deal with all the people saying, hey, this doesn't work. And when I say it's costing me money, it's taking me away from paying work to address problems that have nothing to do with me. And I said, here, Acronis, you deal with this. I'm too busy. And they came back and said, hey, we have good news. It's 50, half off. All the Acronis products, a true image. And they said, because they weren't sure if they could do it, they came back and said, yeah, we're going to do it, but it's still going to end on February the 28th. So if you want to take advantage of that, 50%, half off. Again, it's not really doing anything for me. I mean, maybe it shows Acronis that I'm an influencer, but honestly, their product sells itself. It's not from me influencing you guys. You decide for yourselves. Don't listen to me. And if you want to buy it, buy it. If you don't, don't. But I don't want you to think for 1 minute that I make any money from that, because I don't. It's just generous on their part to offer it, and you have until February 28th if you want to take advantage of it. And as far as I know, it's equal to everybody around the world. As far as I know, anybody around the world can use that code. You know, the good news is the system's really quiet right now, and it's drawing, let's see, what's it drawing? 32 watts from the wall, 32 watts. So what I'm going to do is, let me flip back over to the input right there, and let me shut this down and let it cool off for a minute before I remove that cooler. There we go. That's quick. What other suggestions do you guys have? I've seen the way this Liquid Maker 92 cools, and I found that the Hyper 212 Evo cools better than the Liquid Maker 92. So if the Hyper 212 Evo can't cool this, and the bigger heat sinks aren't cooling this, I honestly think it's going to be a waste of time to try the Liquid Maker 92. I really believe that. I mean, I believe that this was going to be a waste of time, and I was right. But again, I'm not saying that to rub it in. I'm just saying the more I'm correct in my prediction, the more I believe my next prediction is going to be more likely to be accurate, you know? That may be a fault in psychology, in my own psychology, but it's a hassle to install it. Getting to some of the screws is a pain. If it was just something I could snap on real quick, I'd do it, but I'm not looking forward to it. Maruko says, leave it that way. The judge is never going to push it like that. How could you possibly know? You don't know the judge, and you don't know how it's being used, so that's awfully presumptuous. Furthermore, what if the judge wants to add more RAM to the computer? How's he going to do that with this cooler, which is doing a worse job than the Mugen 5, by the way? The Mugen 5 did not get that hot. I probably shouldn't say that because I don't know that they ran the same amount of time. But either way, the Mugen 5 at least doesn't block the RAM, so if I was going to send it to the judge with an inadequate cooler, I'd at least make sure he could have access to all of his RAM sockets. That would be the least I could do. And then he'd say, gosh, Carey, I thought you were better than that, and he probably wouldn't buy another computer from me anyway. So since I want to stay in business, I have to treat this as though you know, no matter what the customer throws at it, it's gonna, I know with confidence, it's gonna handle it just fine. And the Be Quiet Dark Rock 4 on here isn't gonna handle it. It's just not good enough. Mugen 5 isn't gonna handle it. The Izuna cooler is pretty much more the same. I've got that, I'll show it to you. You know, the people at Scythe, they've been very patient waiting for me to review it. And my plan was to use it on Mitch's build that he's got coming up. My buddy Mitch Morrison, my friend, he wants to build a system, and Oh, the Izuna cooler installs super easy. Oh, I don't think there's an easier. Got to get a bit of dust off of it. This is the Izuna cooler, and it installs. This is the easiest cooler you'll ever install in your life from a third party, because it installs with these little plastic tabs, just like a default stock OEM Intel cooler. You just push the tab, click, 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 click. You don't have any backplate to install. You don't have any screws, no tools. That is, wow. Like, as easy as I say the Mugen 5 from the same company, as easy as I say and demonstrate how easy that third-party cooler is to install, this one's even easier. But it's lighter, it's not as big, and I just don't think it's gonna cool very well. And I don't know what language that is. Is that Chinese? Japanese? I honestly, I don't know. It must be Japanese. So that's the Izuna. And then there's another cooler Scythe sent me that they want me to check, or review, I should say. And that's compatible with the Asus Aura LED RG. It's an RGB fan, so you know already how I feel about that. And what did I do with it? I forgot what it's called. I thought it was the Izuna, but maybe I'm confusing it with another one. Where is it? Where did it go? Where did I put it? I know it's in one of these piles. Oh, right here, right in front of my face. Okay, this is called the Kotetsu Mark II, the Tough Gaming Alliance, again from Scythe. It's an RGB, because you know that's one of the ways you can make your computer run cooler is you put lights on it. That's what that looks like. Now this is a bigger, heavier cooler, but I would like to use this with an Asus board because it's compatible with the Asus Aura Sync. I mean, if you're gonna use the RGB on an Asus board, what a shame to sort of waste it, you know, on a board that may not be compatible with it. So this is Intel and AMD socket compatible. And you guys can look up the specs on that if you like. So those are my coolers from Scythe. I just can't get over how easy that is to install. That, I've never seen a third-party tower cooler that you just go click, 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 click. No tools, no screws, no tools, no screws, no backplate, no brackets. And to take it off, you just twist the little tower, pull up. Twist the little tower, pull up, you know, repeat, and off it comes. I just wish I could read it. Well, we might be wrapping this one up early today as I try and figure out another solution. Robert Jones says we're going to have to donate just to pay for thermal compound. Yeah, I keep swapping these coolers out. I'm not reusing the thermal compound for the test to be accurate. But the good news is the thermal compound I buy is very cheap, and I'll recommend, if you guys want to know what I buy and you want to use what I use whatever comes with the cooler. But what happens if you don't, you know, if you use all that, what do you, when you have to buy some, what does Carey buy? And I'll show you. Here it is. Yeah, I should put a link to this in Amazon. I buy it from Amazon. I think it's $8. And it's a, well, forgive the dust, guys. I live in a desert. It's a little embarrassing. The NTH1 thermal compound from Noctua is a big tube. You can see it's much larger. You get a lot more of it than you would for, let's say, Arctic Silver 5. Now, I would always use Arctic Silver 5. Again, for the same reason, I can get like 3 tubes of that on Amazon for $5. And I don't think it even adds up to the amount of thermal compound, and I could be mistaken, but I don't think there's even as much in those 3 that there is in this one. So this one lasts me a bit longer. I think it's $8, free shipping with Amazon Prime, and it's good stuff right there. Right there. So what I have to do now is I'm going to have to order a cooler for this, because I don't have anything in stock that's going to be the right fit. And then tomorrow, I think what I'll do while I'm waiting on a cooler for this is I'll pull up Franklin's computer and we'll install the Kraken X62, because he's got that Fantex N through ATX case, and that plenty of room for a liquid cooler all in one on there. And I think the Kraken X62 is going to perform admirably and is more appropriate fit, because Franklin also has the same 9700K. And the problem is, the longer it takes me to finish these 2 systems up, the more it holds me back from going to the next one and the next one and the next one. I have at least 3 people waiting to start ordering their parts, and I don't want them to order yet because the prices go up and down, right? And generally they're going down. Today I saw the 1 terabyte ADATA 2.5-inch solid state drive for $85 with a coupon code through Slick Deals. If you go to slickdeals.com, if you want to be alerted to all the deals that you're interested in. So I had that email earlier today. I thought I'd mention it to you guys. $85 for a 1 terabyte SATA 2.5-inch SSD from ADATA. I bought 4 or 5 of them at $104 each. So I've already lost $19 on each one of those. So I've almost, I bought them because I was cheap. You don't know, like the price of gasoline. Is it going to go up tomorrow? Is it going to go down? Who knows? So I've already lost close to $80 by hoarding those for, hey, I better buy these while they're cheap. Now, if I'd have waited and bought them now, it's sort of like buying and selling stocks. But I've got them. So if I need them, I've got them. And that amount of loss won't kill me. So yeah, I think that'll be my plan. I think tomorrow we'll put Franklin's machine up here. Hopefully the X62 will cool the 8700K just fine, and then we can wrap his up and get it shipped out to him. Because once again, I'm in the same position. I still have a graphics card to install on Franklin's machine. And so the only reason I don't like using it is Franklin is not going to be able, so he says, to change that cooler on his own. And it will need to be changed. It's just a matter of time before the pump burns out. It usually happens within 4 to 6 years. And when that happens, he's going to have to deal with it. So I'd much rather put a tower air cooler on there. So the worst that has to happen is a fan has to be replaced, But for the 9700K, that just may not be a reasonable option. Franklin, Franklin and I'll have to talk about that. If a Noctua 14 or 15 will do the trick, that might be more appropriate for Franklin as a long-term solution. But Franklin's also concerned about how his computer looks. That's why he spent the extra money for the RGB RAM. And the X62 is a very pretty cooler. So Franklin's going to have to let me know, is that a good sacrifice, having the prettier cooler that you will eventually have to deal with replacing when the pump goes? Or would you rather go with an ugly Noctua cooler that'll probably get in the way of his RGB RAM, probably won't even install with his tall RGB RAM? May not even be an option now that I'm saying out loud and I'm hearing myself. So, a little bit of a pickle. And again, when you build for yourself, this is your own little personal issue to deal with. But when you build for somebody else, you're the one held accountable. You're the one they expect to make it right. And that's what I'm going to do. I just don't have the answer yet. Is the 8086K a better option? Well, I have to use what he sent me and we can't return it. So what choice do I have? Might be something to consider if you're wanting to build a computer, this idea that I want the best, these are the kind of consequences that you pay for when you're sort of a pioneer, when you're one of the first ones to experience it. Now, over time, I imagine the cooler manufacturers will come out with a specialty cooler, if for no other reason than marketing to charge a few dollars more, designed specifically for the 9700K and other CPUs from Intel that, you know, if this is a new trend from Intel, that's what we're doing now, it's in the cooler manufacturer's best interest financially to specialize a cooler for that, just as Threadripper really requires its own special cooler for the size of the heat spreader. It's so unique on the Threadripper, and it limits your cooling choices. So, I don't know. I'm certainly open to suggestions from folks. Franklin is there. Okay, hey Franklin. Not ugly, Carey. I don't know what you mean by that, Franklin. I know, I can tell you from what I know about Franklin, and it's not much, but from the parts that he's purchased, it's clear to me how the computer looks is very important to him. But what about the maintenance it might require as a result of prioritizing the aesthetics of the machine? Are you willing to, like if I put the Kraken X62 in there, I feel very confident it's going to work, and it's going to work really, really good. But I also feel fairly confident within 4 to 6 years, the pump is going to die. So Franklin, X62, which will require maintenance at some point, or air cooler, which the most you would ever have to replace is a fan. So that's what I need to know from you, Franklin, if you wouldn't mind. Well, I've got your attention here in the chat. And by the way, guys, what would you do? Let Franklin know what you would do. Not that it matters, but I'm just curious. What would you do if you were Franklin? What if you had a disability that prevented you from doing the work yourself? Would you still be really, you know, would you prioritize how the system looks, or would you prioritize how reliable, the longevity of the reliability of the system is? There's no right or wrong answer here, by the way. This isn't about ganging up and deciding who's decided more than somebody else. We're not making a decision for Franklin. Franklin's going to make his own decision. I'm merely stalling for time as I wait for a response, and I'm genuinely curious what other people would do. Mikey Owen said, I'd try the NZXT Kraken X31 or the Corsair H80 version 2. They're both 120 millimeter coolers. Oh, that's true. You know what? I think I have a 120 millimeter cooler. Platter Jockey says, if I were Franklin, I'd change the chip. That's an expensive option, though. Cindy says, air cooler. A. Watkins says, all-in-one. William Dawson says, air cooling is the least amount of problems in the future. Mark Hurst thinks function over form. Cody says, I would go all-in-one. Jonathan says, I'd stay with a fan. So most people are staying with the fan. Different shirt guy says, I flirt with both. Yeah. Reliability. Ziggy Stardust says, I love aesthetics, but I need reliability. Reliability from Reverend John O'Toole. Michael Shaw says he would prioritize function. He says his Mugen 5 works well on his 9700K. Yes, it does work well until you run Prime 95 on it. But again, if you don't push the system that hard, then you don't have to worry about it, you know. But you may not know that you're pushing the system that hard because you haven't done it yet. And when it happens, you may not even know. Because if you're not monitoring the temps, and if it's throttling, I mean, it's doing what it's designed to do to protect itself, and things just take a little longer to complete, but the computer will never let you know anything's wrong unless the throttling down isn't effective, and then you'll have like blue screen errors or the machine just shuts down. And that's what happened with the, you guys remember the big Cosmos 2 build I did, and I had the liquid cooler in there? And if you remember, a few years later, it came back because the pump died, and those were the symptoms. The customer said, first of all, when I touch it, it's hot. Secondly, it's shutting down randomly. And that's exactly what it was. The pump had shut down, and it shut down exactly in the time frame that statistically is likely. In this case, it was on the earlier side at 4 years. And I had a cooler here that was something that didn't fit in somebody else's build. and I had to buy that customer a new cooler. And then I sold the cooler at like half price to the gentleman who owns the Cosmos 2, so he got a good price on it. I got rid of a cooler I didn't need, and he should be good for another, 4 to 6 years. Bratman says he's a fan of air-cooled. Nice pun. Now let me see if Franklin has replied. John Wilson says, I'm far from an expert on air cooling, but given that Mugen 5 has more radiator, it'd be my thoughts that more airflow would take care of the problem. Could be right, John, but I just don't want to add the extra fan. It adds more cabling, it adds more noise, and adds another point of failure. So what can work may not necessarily be up to my personal standards with regards to, fewer parts, fewer problems, less noise, more fans, potentially more noise, more cables, more things that could go wrong. If you have to do it, you have to. But if you have a choice and you're the one that's going to get the phone call when it breaks, it's not you, it's not your machine, it's your machine that you're building for somebody else. And when it has a problem, they're going to call you. That's what's going through my mind, just so you know. Still waiting on that response from Franklin. I don't see it yet. Let me just make sure I didn't miss it. Franklin, where are you, buddy? Michael says he ran Prime 95 on his machine and the CPU did not go over 70 degrees centigrade. Interesting. What motherboard are you using, Michael, if you don't mind me asking? Nigel Baptiste has contributed $5. He says, always choose reliability. Russell Franzen says, how about a CryoRig H7? Never used one. I don't know. Will that work? Duzan Barkler says, Zellman is reliable. Very good. Yeah, I haven't used Zellman in years. Oh my God, it's been 10 years. Never even really thought of them. Might be a good suggestion. It's an alternative to the big noxious solution. Patrick says, but is the judge going to push the CPU 100%? Well, that's the thing, Patrick. How am I supposed to know? And why should that matter? If you buy a car, should the dealer go, hey man, are you going to be driving this at 80 miles an hour a lot? You should be able to drive it however you want, and the car should be able to, within reason, sustain that, indefinitely. It shouldn't be a question of putting conditions on it. That's my thought. If you buy a computer from me, it should survive whatever you throw at it under normal use. So if he's pushing the system really hard, then it shouldn't overheat. It should do what it's designed to do. Michael Shaw says he's using an Asus Prime Z390A. He says, I can do it again if it would help. Michael, I just appreciate the information. It's not that I don't believe you. I'm just trying to collect and analyze the data. It may be a difference between the voltage that's being sent. Manufacturers, sometimes they send different voltages to the CPUs in their BIOSes for whatever reason. And it might be for like overclocking stability and stuff like that. But I mean, if it's not going to run at stable, if it's not going to run stable at its stock clock, there's a joke in there with dark rock. It all rhymes together. I'll let you make your own joke, but it's just not going to be good enough for me. George says, Franklin said X62 Carey. Thank you, George. Sometimes the chat gets a little busy, and I did not see his response. Franklin. Oh, there's Franklin right there, X62. You got it, buddy. Franklin, whatever you want, that's what you're getting. I just want to make sure we're on the same page with setting expectations. That's really the simplest secret to running your own business, is you, as the business owner, you set your customers' expectations, right? And then you meet or you exceed those expectations. I have to tell you, I had a very interesting phone call that was it was embarrassing for me. A gentleman called me and he said, hey, listen, man, I was debating whether or not to call you. I know you're busy, but we had talked a few days ago. and you sent me a parts list, which Catherine, again, helped me with, and a huge shout out and thank you to Catherine for that. And he said, you went silent. I sent an email, you didn't respond, I've waited a few days, and then in that time I had to go to Vegas, and I had to deal with this stuff with false copyright match ID. And he said, you know, my wife and I talked about it for days. She's like, why don't you just email him? He said, I don't want to bother him. And she's like, well, you should. And he runs an eBay business, this gentleman. And you know, your feedback on eBay is life or death. If somebody orders something from you on eBay and you don't ship it right away, you probably won't maintain a good feedback level enough for eBay to authorize you to continue selling. So in his world, you know, things have to happen really quick. So when he didn't hear back from me because I had all this other stuff going on, he didn't know, am I not getting the email? And then he thought, I don't really want to bother him. If he's that busy, he's not getting back to me. And he's not a computer guy. He doesn't even really watch, he's watched a couple videos, but he saw some videos and he said, hey, this guy's local. He seems trustworthy. I'm tired of buying these off-the-shelf computers. I'm tired of being on support with people who don't know what they're talking about for hours and hours and hours with, I don't know, it's like HP he's dealing with. He's been dealing with it for years and he feels like he hasn't had a choice. Then he saw or stumbled on one of my videos and realized he could have a custom machine built for probably the same price or less as what he's paid for the HP. And it'll be faster, quieter, more reliable, and the support is me, right? Not somebody in another country who's potentially very difficult to understand and adding to the frustration and perhaps most certainly doesn't have the experience I have. So he calls me, or he called me, and I said, you know, I'm so sorry, so sorry. Hold on a second. Let's see if we got another pizza. Hello.
Hello.
Hey, let me step outside. Did somebody pay for this?
No.
So I'm live on YouTube.
Okay.
Somebody's playing a joke. And I just tipped the last pizza guy, so I don't have any cash to tip you. I'm sorry.
Hey man, no worries.
It's not cool. It's not cool for you. Will you do me a favor and if any orders come from my address?
Okay.
Honestly, I'm hungry and I would pay if I had it. But this is what it's like to be on YouTube now.
You're just being trolled, I understand.
I am being trolled and I'm so sorry.
Hey man, no worries. Have a great day.
I hope you can enjoy that pizza.
Trust me, we'll at the shop.
Thank
Take
you.
it easy.
Yeah, just if you could note this account to call back any orders to verify, because I probably do order from you. Thank you.
Take it easy.
Well, there's only so many pizza places you can order from. All right, so anyway, I forgot what I was talking about. I just can't believe a pizza place would come out and deliver without collecting a payment first. Somebody really doesn't like pizza places. It's costing them money it's costing the pizza place real money. And there's not a lot of, I mean, pizza's a good business, don't get me wrong. But how many of those do you think they can sustain in a day? How many, like if you owned your own restaurant and you're getting people calling and ordering food fraudulently, that hits your bottom line. You know, the poor delivery driver deserves to be tipped either way. And I gave the last delivery driver, I think I had $3 cash in my pocket, $3 or $4, and I gave him all of it. So I feel bad. I wish I had something to give to the guy, you know. I got it in the bank, but I don't have it in cash. Trust me, I got $5. I've got more than $5. Oh no, I guess I learned a lesson. How embarrassing for these people to do that. Anyway, yeah, the employees do get to eat the extra pizza. I used to work at a pizza place, and I used to love it when fraudulent orders came in because we got to eat it. And that's how I learned that I liked green peppers on a pizza. I don't like green peppers on anything else, but on a pizza. And that's how it happened. You know, there was an order had come back or it was undeliverable, fake address, whatever it was. And This was Domino's. I used to work for Domino's back in the 80s. And I was hungry. And even though I'm a fussy eater, when I'm hungry, I'm a little less fussy. I'm still fussy, just a little less. And it was good. And I remember there was a pizza with like everything on it except anchovies. It had pretty much everything but anchovies on it. And I was starving, and I thought, you know, because it had come back, how bad could it be? And it was completely flavorless. The problem with too many toppings is that it's there's no distinction of flavor in it. So let me take a quick intermission. I will be right back, guys. Stay with me for just a minute. I got to check on something. Okay, it's all good. It's all good. So, let's see. What was I talking about? I forgot what I was talking about. I was talking about pizza. I know that. Getting hungry for pizza. I think that's what we're going to do tonight. I think we're going to do pizza tonight. Suddenly hungry for pizza. I don't know why. So yeah, I found out I did not like everything on a pizza. It was just flavorless. Everything blended together into a sort of a dull, indescribable and indistinct flavor. Nothing stood out. Cheese didn't stand out. Pepperoni didn't stand out. Nothing stood out. And all you were left with was this flat flavor and this weird texture of squishy items and crunchy, you know, sort of pepperoni can get a little crunchy if it's burned, and olives are like little rubber washers. I don't know why people eat that on a pizza, but it did expand my palate just a little bit. So anyway, yeah, so tomorrow we'll do the Cash or Carey. Tomorrow we will do the X62 on Franklin's build. And I'm gonna talk to the judge, see what he wants to do with regards to the cooler, because that's not gonna cut it. So if anybody has any final questions before we wrap it up for today, some pretty funny people online. Tipping is a scam. You know, tipping is a nice thing to do. It's just forget scamming. Tipping is just a very friendly gesture. Nobody should be upset over a tip. You know what I mean? Like, how can you go wrong? Could the missing external power plug be an issue with the heat? No, if anything, adding more power would only add more heat, wouldn't take away heat. Robert Malovich has contributed $2. Thank you, Robert. David Gilman's contributed $5. Says, I've just been working. Hey guys, thanks for the contribution to the channel. Franklin Adams says, thank you, Carey. Well, thanks for your patience, Franklin, as we work through these obstacles, but we will get through them. Let's see. Again, because I'm about to wrap it up, if you have any technical questions for me or any suggestions on the cooler, certainly feel free to ask me now. Holy smokes, someone has contributed $100. Holy smokes! Well, first of all, thank you for the contribution. Secondly, you should know YouTube is going to take 30% of that and probably won't give it to me for 30 to 60 days. Not to sound unappreciative, I do appreciate it. If you do that, so these contributions that are like 20 bucks or less, it doesn't really matter much, but I would have been able to have that sooner and have more of it if you use the PayPal donate button. But I don't want to discourage you at all. So Michael, what an amazing and generous contribution. Thank you so much for that. That'll pay for a few pizzas, huh? Isn't that amazing? Aren't you guys the best? Isn't that amazing? So on the one hand, you got one guy harassing me, and you have this whole army of good guys that got my back. You have any idea how that makes me feel? In my life, I never, boo-hoo, I never had it. And I have to tell you, it feels so good. So thank you. Thank you for, I got no words. Hey, Cronus just joined us. Hello, Cronus. We were just talking about you a little bit ago. Don't worry, we said good things. I'm sure they weren't worried. Let's make Michael a moderator. Tipping leads to better service. Well, why wouldn't it? You'd want another tip, right? You're motivated. You're like, hey, this guy helps me, I want to help him back. That's the way the system's supposed to work. And when people get entitled, when servers get entitled to a tip, or customers expect a very high level of service by default, something's going on outside. Well, give me just a second, guys. I'm going to turn the audio on so you can hear this, so you guys get an understanding of these gamers playing more games. Hold on a second. It's somebody, I'm guessing somebody called you.
Yes, for Carey.
Yeah, it's a fraud.
Okay.
It's not real. Sorry. So that was a taxi driver. So there was a taxi driver. My dogs were going crazy because they heard something, and of course, want to go check out what that was. And he was just expecting somebody to go out. I mean, if you hail a cab, cab driver just hangs out. And I didn't want him to hang out there too long. And, you know, what this person's doing is he's not costing me any money. He's not interfering with me. I've never ordered a cab in my life. And these pizza places, I mean, even though I said, hey, I might order for me, I honestly have never ordered pizza from any of those places before. So it's not in any way damaging me, it's costing these companies money. So if he's trying to punish the companies, well, it's a great way for those companies to restrict their services to other honest people who need them. And you know, this is the price I have to pay to try and educate people. This is the price I have to endure. I don't have a choice. I have to endure this type of abuse of what is a very good system by somebody who clearly is crying out for help. I mean, this is clearly a cry for help. And it's just, you know, just to give them a moment to perhaps just remember that there's people in the world, you know, that are very lonely and will do anything to seek attention. And, you know, locking them up and arresting them isn't helping them. They need medical help or psychological help. And so there's nothing I can do to help them. You know, I would, if this person would reach out to me, whatever it is they need, I would do everything I can to help them. But unfortunately, you know, their behavior is very cowardly, and the process of what they're doing is financially harmful to the companies they're abusing. And, you know, karma, it adds up. These people think they're not going to get caught, and everybody in jail thought they weren't going to get caught too. Every single person you speak to in jail, they all say the same thing. I didn't do it, or I was sure I wasn't going to get caught. I covered all my tracks. But in the meantime, you guys rock. You guys rock. But so obviously, coming out here, giving away computers to disabled vets, educating people how to build computers, this is obviously very controversial. Apparently, it's somehow political, building a computer and showing people how. I deserve to be harassed for that. Okay. How do people sleep at night when they do that, when they cause that harm? How can they go to bed tonight and be proud of them, what they did? What they did is, I mean, a 6-year-old can do that. It's very simple. It's so profoundly simple. It is the behavior of a child, an adolescent. And it doesn't make it any more acceptable, but certainly more expected. And it's not just any adolescent, because not all adolescents behave that way. This adolescent has a disability in that they find humor in things that aren't funny. And last time I saw a stand-up comic, I was going to say Jerry Seinfeld, but that's a bit of a dated reference. The last time I saw Sebastian Maniscalco, he wasn't just manually, you know, ordering food from places and then going, ha ha, wasn't that funny? Like, I don't think the audience bought tickets to see that. I don't think that's a stand-up routine that will work. But I guess everybody's got a different sense of humor. Some people watch somebody being tortured and murdered and laugh their butts off. You know, what do you say to somebody like that other than, I wish I could help you? But how hot should a CPU run, Richard wants to know. It's a good question. I don't think there's any specific temperature that a CPU needs to run at. You know, it's engineered, each CPU will, in the instruction manual, or if you look up the specs online, will have an operating range that's acceptable by the engineers, who are very well educated, who have determined all and done all the math, and they have a safe operational range. And this modern CPUs, they have a protection circuit to prevent them, from overheating and causing damage. So that being said, with an Intel CPU, a modern Intel CPU in the socket 1151 range, you can't just say all CPUs of all time because it doesn't apply. So if it's in reference to the CPU we're talking about here today, I don't want to see it get hotter than 85 degrees Celsius when it's pushed, me personally, because that's still leaving 15 degrees of headroom. Now that being said, if I put a cooler on it and the cooler gets to 87, I'll be, you know what, it's good enough, right? At some point, if the CPU is that difficult to cool, we're still in the safe range, and having headroom of 15 degrees before throttling or 13 degrees before throttling isn't much of a difference. We're good enough, we're in the ballpark. But I'm aiming at, for this series, any Intel socket 1151 specifically, I'm aiming at 85 as a max in general. So I hope that helps. Do we have to refill or change the liquid in a cooler? When an all-in-one cooler is already factory sealed and is no maintenance, there's nothing you can do for it. Now the benefit of that is it doesn't need to be cleared out every year and have the bacteria killed off and cleaned out and refilled, and then chance for more leaks and fittings that can leak, and they're expensive because you're buying each part separately. So the all-in-one coolers are all factory sealed, ready to rock. You just take them out, slap them in, and you're good to go till the pump fails. But if you want to build your own cooler and buy the parts individually, then those require maintenance and they cost more, and you can customize them. You can make it specific to your system with the length of the tubing and everything else, rather than just sort of a one-size-fits-all solution. But it requires more ongoing maintenance, and it's still prone to the same pump failure because it's still using the same kind of pump. So within 4 to 6 years, you can expect to replace the pump. Robert Spores contributed $3. He says, have a Coke on me. The trolls are sad and unfunny. Yeah, well, what are you going to do? I would love to see the troll show up to my front door, but you know he's not going to do it because he doesn't have the guts. And if you knew, if you're a fan of this channel, and you knew what I have in this house with regards to self-defense, you absolutely would not want to jeopardize. I mean, I wouldn't think you would. I don't think you'd want to jeopardize try to find the right words. Your freedom. I don't think you want to jeopardize your freedom. I don't think you want to be somewhere that you can't get out of. I wouldn't want to, whether it's a cage or a box. So, if the hacker wants to show up to my front door, and there's cameras all over my house, would make for a very interesting video. But guys like that got nothing to worry about because they're too cowardly. Not that I'm recommending it. I'm not recommending it, but I'm proving a point. So with that, if there's any other technical questions I can answer for you, I would certainly be happy to answer any technical questions you guys have. Looks like we're quieted down here. Is the BIOS set for overclocking? We're running everything stock right now. You certainly don't want to overclock a new build until you've established that it's running well at stock speeds. You don't want to run before you can walk, you know? Night Guardian 3 says, hey, Carey, thank you for helping me pick parts for my PC. Remember, Catherine will do that, will help you for free. What about a new computer case for the judge? Is that option on the table? You know, it could be. Absolutely, it's a possibility. It's not my preference. The judge doesn't want anything too large. So I'm sure there are other case options available within the reasonable proximity of the dimensions of this case that would be a little more accommodating for, I don't know, a liquid cooler, but I don't know that the judge wants that liquid cooler for the same reason of reliability, right? Is he going to want to have to deal with pump replacement within 4 to 6 years? I'll have to talk to him about it. But in the meantime, I'm going to just try and work with what we've got because it's cheaper and more efficient to move forward rather than to have to take steps backwards. Did the fan on the cooler speed up? It most certainly did. Yes, it did. Don't the manufacturers suggest a cooler? No, no, they don't. Could BIOS settings make it run cooler? Well, even if they could, what you've got to consider is imagine that you've built a computer for somebody and you've shipped it to them in another state. So they're hundreds or thousands of miles away. And something happens where their BIOS resets. Could be anything, a power outage, who knows what. Now the system's overheating because if the default values of the BIOS get reset, then the customer is going to call you with a support call. And I can't remotely get into a BIOS. So how can I help that customer fix that problem? It needs to run default out of the box reliably. So these ideas of going into the BIOS and altering it might work fine for you at home where you know what you're doing. But when you're building a computer for somebody who's not technical and they see that BIOS and all they see is a bunch of technical jibber jabber, they don't know what settings to set. And if I'm building, you know, if you're me and you're building 30, 40 computers in between building this one, and they're all different, some are AMD and some are different levels of CPUs from Intel, depending on what's the latest and greatest and what budgets people have. Every motherboard's different. You very rarely see me use the same board twice. And each BIOS is different to each board. So how are you going to remember what settings you made to the BIOS in order to get it to run reliably? And are you going to do that for every single computer you build? And if so, how are you going to stay in business and how are you going to keep all that in track? And how are you going to walk the customer through that over the phone who has no idea what all this stuff is? And furthermore, what if there's a BIOS update that changes the location or options of those items and the customer has updated the BIOS and now what you've got doesn't even match what the customer has anymore? So when we talk about the accountability that comes in on the business side of things, you want to stay in business, you want your customer to be happy, you want your customer to refer you, and you want your customer to come back and buy again. And the best way you can do that is build a machine that doesn't have to have Band-Aids and duct tape on it to make it work when it's brand new. You know, we're talking about $2,000 here. Is it acceptable to spend $2,000 and have to tweak it to make it work? It'd be one thing if you went to, I don't know, you went somewhere and you got it for $200, but the consequence is now you're going to have to pay with your time. That may be more of an acceptable trade-off. But when you pay $2,000 for a computer, there should be no trade-offs. It should just work, and it should work every day, and it should be quiet, and it should be fast, and it needs to be absolutely reliable. I have no way to know if the customer will push the system that hard, but there's no reason they shouldn't be able to if they want to, if it's built correctly. With everything default, not overclocking, just default out of the box settings, should be good to go. Past Me says, greetings from Germany, welcome into the channel. We'll scroll through the comments and see if I missed anything. The only type of all-in-one that will fit into a 200R is a 120 millimeter or a 140 millimeter with the radiator replacing the rear fan. That is true. That is true, Chuck. And it's certainly an option to consider if the judge wants the liquid cooler. So, all right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. I'll have to just see what the customer wants to do with regards to this build. We already know what we're going to do with the other one. And let's see if there's any other last questions. I think I'm caught up. No, I think we're good. Don Walter says hello. Hey, Don, welcome in. Good to see you. PDG, if there was the same CPU fan, not sure what he's saying there. All right, guys. Hey, listen, thank you guys so much for watching. A quick shout out again to all the folks who've been generous. First and foremost, Michael Canner with the $100 very generous contribution. Thank you so much to Michael. Robert Spoor and Lenny, Past Me, Robert Malovich, David Gilman, Nigel Baptiste, Kevin Sears, Past Me contributed again, John Edwards, Mike Zawlinski, Paul from Mars, David Kane, Robert Bobian contributed. Robert wants to know, how's the new battery working? I'm sorry, Robert, I just saw this. So Robert has helped with me getting the battery replaced in the, you know, my favorite screwdriver. And with Robert's help, brought it back to life. Thank you, Robert. Thank you so much for your help. Both him and my friend Cliff. I don't know how to do it, and I don't have the time, but they replaced the battery inside of this for me and tested it. And it's alive. It's alive. So I missed his contribution. Sorry, Rob. Richard, Angeline, and John Tuvey, badge holder Richard, Angeline, Flytech Bass, Ken Jung, Sharon Idle, Christoph, Ash, Orly, Doss, Troll McTrollington, Maroof, Boss Peter, Jan Giddings, Kevin Andrews, Ben Fitzpatrick, Jim Desposito, Alistair Collins, and Russell Franzen. Very generous day today. Thank you guys for all your support and your contributions. And just Winston Anglu here in Vancouver, Canada, just contributed $2 Canadian. Very nice. Thank you so much. If you enjoy the video, you can certainly let me know you want to see more like it by clicking the thumbs up button right there. And, well, not that one, but the one below it. And of course, if you like my content and you want to subscribe and you want to be updated with the latest and greatest whenever I post new videos or live feeds, be sure you hit that subscribe button, and then you have to hit the bell icon, so it's got those little lines around it to turn notifications on. And of course, if you don't want to be notified, just hit the bell icon or unsubscribe, and you don't have to worry about that. That's going to wrap it up for me today. I will see you guys all tomorrow. And yeah, we'll be doing Franklin's 9700K with the Kraken X62 tomorrow. Hope you check it out and see what the end results are as we run the same exact torture test on it and see how well the Kraken X62 performs on the Intel 9700K. So that's it for today. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you all again very, very soon. You can see I'm prepping. I'm like, okay, is my finger on the button? My finger's on the button. I'll see y'all again very, very soon. Until then, oh, wait. Everybody in blue, you guys did a fantastic job today. Thank you for all your help. I know the trolls are in for it. It'll be over in a week. They'll be outraged next week. You know, like I said, somebody will put their thermal paste on wrong, and they'll be all over it. You know, they'll take their pitchforks and they'll go over there. So just a few more days is all you have to endure. Thank you so much, really. I will see you all again tomorrow. Until then, bye for now.